From the newsrooms of WBUR and GBH, I'm Paris Alston. Welcome to Consider This from Boston, where many employers are grappling with when and how to get their workers back into the office. But just how safe are those office buildings? GBH Radio's Gabriela Emanuel has been looking into the issue of indoor air quality and what employees can do to ensure their own workplace is a healthy one to return to. And she joins us now. Hey, Gabriela, thanks for being with us.
Hi, no problem.
So let's start with the basics. What are the regulations and requirements when it comes to air quality in offices?
There is not much. So I spoke with Tom Smith, who runs the company 3Flow, and their sole mission as a company is to make sure people don't get sick from airborne hazards, basically designing how the air flows in labs, biotech firms, chemical companies. His company does a lot of work here in Boston at places like MIT. But since the pandemic started, he's been getting calls about open layout offices, conference rooms, auditoriums, and he says typical office spaces are actually a lot harder to work with than labs because they weren't designed with floating pathogens in mind, and often whatever system these spaces do have haven't actually been properly maintained. So Smith told me that there's a simple reason for all of this.
There is no certification or requirement to provide a risk assessment, to evaluate the effectiveness of the airflow systems, or to manage and maintain them. There's simply nothing.
Now, the trade group ASHRAE, think heating, refrigeration, and air conditioning systems, has put out standards, but they are minimum standards, not standards for a healthy and safe space.
So what happens as a result of not having any real oversight of indoor air quality?
Well, even before COVID, it meant offices and schools already posed some health issues. Indoor pollutants from things like furniture, flooring, cleaning supplies, mold could create air pollution as much as 20 times worse than outdoor air.
Ugh, that does not sound pleasant at all.
Yeah, I know. And when there's cleaner indoor air, people do better. Kids score better on tests, productivity goes up, sick days go down. And now COVID has made the importance of indoor air quality a life or death issue. But there may be a silver lining to all of this. Experts like Joseph Allen, who works at Harvard School of Public Health, certainly think so. He hopes the pandemic may lead to new oversight in this area. And he says in a lot of other areas, we've already seen progress.
The basics of clean water, sanitation, food safety and security, but we haven't done the same for indoor air. And it's overdue. And I think this is the moment because everyone's awareness is so high.
Allen is hoping that this is the moment, but it's important to say that things haven't changed yet.
And what does all this mean for employees who need to go into the office now and can't really wait for regulations to catch up?
Well, the experts I asked had 3 big recommendations. So first thing, they said, make sure your workplace is using a really good air filter. They said, ask your boss about that. What you want to hear from them is that they are using a MERV 13 filter. MERV, or Minimum Efficiency Reporting Value, is basically a rating system for filters. The higher the number, the better it is at filtering out smaller contaminants. The magic number for COVID is 13 or higher. So you want your office to be using a MERV 13 or higher. Just for reference, the typical building today has a MERV 8 and the typical home is MERV 4. Now, if your building can't use a MERV 13 filter, say it doesn't support it, it's too old of a building. If that's the case, the experts say you have another option. So believe it or not, those portable air filters, HEPA filters that you just kind of plug into your outlet at your desk from your local hardware store, they are really effective at reducing air contaminants and purifying the air. So the final thing to say is that Allen says every employee should know that you, yourself, can get a sense of your air quality.
There's a terrific way to know if you're getting enough outdoor air, and that is through the use of carbon dioxide monitoring or CO2 monitors.
CO2 is what we all exhale. So these portable monitors basically tell you how much you're breathing in other people's breath. And since COVID is a virus that rides along in the air that we breathe out, having a sense of how much fresh air we're breathing is very helpful.
Okay, so I know we're talking about the workplace, but I kind of want to get some of these filters for my own home as well.
Yes, the experts I spoke to said they have them in their own home, too.
That makes total sense. That's GBH radio reporter Gabriela Emanuel. Thanks so much for all this helpful information.
Thank you.
Before we go, I should tell you what else is up. People looking to beat the heat by shopping indoors will get the added benefit of a sales tax holiday this weekend. The state's 6.25% sales tax will be waived on most items under $2,500, but not everyone is looking forward to it.
Big businesses that have the infrastructure and the people to support the sales and all the demand, it's great, but the sales were going to come either way, in my opinion.
That's Peter Pappas, who owns Harrison Refrigeration and Appliance in Hyde Park. He says it's been hard to find sales help these days, and between that and a supply shortage, sales tax holidays can be a strain. The holiday is in effect this Saturday and Sunday only. And finally, earlier this week, following the release of that honestly depressing UN report on climate change, we asked you to share your thoughts on this crisis. Brittany in Somerville says she was trying to stay environmentally conscious, but when the pandemic hit, that all changed.
Being environmentally friendly and low waste clashes really hard with trying to be sterile and clean. I love living my own personal eco-friendly lifestyle, but ultimately the real change is going to come from large corporations.
Can't argue with you there, Brittany. Tim, also in Somerville, says he's worried about his 6-year-old son's future.
When I start to think about the likelihood that the people of the world unite to do the kinds of things we need to do in order for him to have the kind of planet I had growing up, I am not filled with optimism. In fact, I am often paralyzed with fear.
Geez. I'm with you, Tim. Thankfully, we still do have time to get this right. From the newsrooms of WBUR and GBH, the greatest combo since your voices and hearing them on this podcast. I'm Paris Alston. Be well. Hey there! A lot of people listen to Consider This at the end of the day, and NPR's up first in the morning. But a lot of the actual news happens in the middle of the day. And the team bringing the best information about that news as it happens is the team behind WBUR and NPR's show Here and Now. And yes, there is a podcast version, so want more of the best news reporting from public radio and around the country? Check out Here and Now. Find it in the same place you found this podcast, wherever you listen. Just search Here and Now.